Imagine this. You're sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a stack of bills that could crush your dreams, and the man you trusted most in the world has just walked out the door with another woman. That's where my story begins. My name is Jennifer, and for 12 years, I thought my marriage to Mark was rock solid. We had a beautiful home, a loving son named Alex who was just 10 years old, and what I believed was a future full of happiness. But life has a way of throwing curveballs that leave you breathless. It was a rainy Tuesday evening when Mark came home late, his face pale and his eyes avoiding mine. "Jennifer," he said, his voice trembling just a bit, "we need to talk." My heart sank. I knew something was wrong, but nothing could prepare me for what came next. He confessed he'd been seeing someone else, Sarah, his coworker from the office. They'd been together for months, sneaking around behind my back. And as if that betrayal wasn't enough, he dropped the bomb. He was leaving me, taking half our savings, but leaving me with a mountain of debt. $20,000 in credit card bills, loans, and unpaid bills he'd racked up in secret. I felt like the ground had opened up beneath me. Tears streamed down my face as he packed his bags, not even glancing at Alex, who was peeking from the hallway with wide, scared eyes. "How could you do this to us?" I whispered, my voice breaking. Mark just shrugged, muttered something about needing a fresh start, and walked out into the rain with Sarah waiting in her car. That night, I cried myself to sleep, wondering how I'd ever pick up the pieces. Looking back, I see the signs I missed. Mark and I met in college, young and full of dreams. He was charming, ambitious, working his way up in a marketing firm. I was a teacher, passionate about shaping young minds. We got married in a small ceremony, and soon Alex came along, a bright, curious boy who loved tinkering with computers and gadgets. Our life seemed perfect. Family dinners, weekend outings, holidays filled with laughter. But over the last year, things changed. Mark started working late, claiming deadlines and projects. His phone was always buzzing with messages he hid from me. I'd find receipts for dinners I wasn't invited to, jewelry I never received. I confronted him once, but he brushed it off as paranoia. "Jennifer, you're overthinking," he'd say with that fake smile. Little did I know those projects were dates with Sarah, a younger woman from his office who flattered his ego and shared his secrets.
Financially, we were struggling, but Mark assured me it was temporary. He handled the bills, said he'd sort everything. I trusted him blindly. Now, alone with Alex, I discovered the truth. He'd maxed out our cards on lavish gifts for Sarah, trips they took together, even a down payment on a new apartment for them. $20,000? How would I pay that? I felt betrayed, angry, heartbroken. But the real twist was yet to come. The days after Mark left were a blur of pain and confusion. I called in sick to work, unable to face my students with puffy eyes and a broken spirit. Alex, my sweet boy, tried to comfort me. He'd hug me tight and say, "Mom, it'll be okay." But how could it? The house felt empty, echoes of happier times mocking me. Bills piled up, mortgage, utilities, that crushing debt. I spent hours on the phone with banks begging for extensions, but they were merciless. Friends and family rallied around, offering sympathy and small loans, but it wasn't enough. My sister, Lisa, came over with casseroles and words of encouragement. "He's a fool, Jennifer. You get through this." But inside, I was raging. How dare Mark destroy our family for a fling? Sarah. I pictured her smug face, knowing she'd stolen my husband. The betrayal cut deep, like a knife twisting in my chest. I wondered if they'd laugh at me in their new life, free from responsibilities. That evening, as I sat with Alex, explaining we'd have to cut back on things, he looked up with those innocent eyes. "Mom," he said softly, "it's okay. I took care of it." I blinked, confused. "What do you mean, sweetie?" He just smiled mysteriously and went to his room. I thought it was childish comfort, but oh, how wrong I was.
Alex had always been advanced for his age, a little genius with technology. He built apps on his tablet, coded simple games, and even helped me fix the Wi-Fi more times than I could count. But I never imagined he'd use those skills in such a way. That night, after his cryptic words, I tucked him in and tried to sleep, my mind racing with worries. The next morning, I woke to the usual routine: coffee, checking emails, more bad news from creditors. But Alex seemed unusually calm, humming as he ate breakfast. "What did you mean last night?" I asked again. He shrugged. "Just wait, Mom. You'll see." I didn't press. Kids say odd things sometimes. Meanwhile, I started job hunting for extra work. Anything to chip away at that debt. Unbeknownst to me, Alex had been piecing things together for weeks. He'd overheard Mark's late-night calls, seen suspicious emails on the family computer. My boy, with his sharp mind, had quietly accessed old logs, nothing invasive, just what was already there. He discovered proof of Mark's double life: photos, messages, even financial transfers to Sarah. But Alex didn't stop at sadness. He plotted a clever response. 2 days passed in tense silence. I avoided calls from unknown numbers, fearing more bill collectors. Mark hadn't reached out. Not a text, not a sorry. I imagined him and Sarah lounging in their new place, toasting to their freedom. The thought fueled my anger, but I felt powerless. How do you fight back against someone who's already gone? Alex, however, was busy. In his room, surrounded by his gadgets, he crafted something ingenious. Using free online tools and his coding know-how, he created a simple website, an anonymous blog exposing the truth without naming names directly. He uploaded snippets of evidence, blurred photos, redacted messages showing the affair and the financial deceit. Titled "Betrayed and Broken, A Story of Lies," he shared it on social media forums where locals hung out, tagging it with hints that pointed to Mark's workplace. I had no idea. But as the post gained traction, whispers started online. People connected the dots: Mark's colleagues, friends, even Sarah's circle. The suspense built like a storm cloud, ready to burst. On the third day, my phone rang incessantly. First, it was Mark, his voice frantic. "Jennifer, what have you done?" he shouted. I was stunned. "What are you talking about?" He rambled about a viral post ruining his reputation, Sarah in tears, their new life crumbling. "Everyone knows. My boss called me in, threatening to fire me over the ethics breach." Then Sarah called, sobbing. "Please, take it down. We're exposed. People are harassing us online." My heart raced. How could this be? I demanded answers from Mark. "You left us in debt, and now you're panicking over gossip?" But deep down, a spark of justice ignited. They were feeling the sting of their actions. Confused, I hung up and rushed to Alex's room. "What did you do?" He confessed everything, showing me the site on his tablet. I didn't hack anything, Mom. I just shared what was public and what Dad left behind. People deserve to know the truth. My jaw dropped. My 10-year-old had orchestrated a digital takedown, safe and smart. As the calls continued, the full picture emerged. Alex's post had gone viral in our community. Mark's company launched an investigation. Turns out some of those expenses were company funds misused for his affair. Sarah, who worked there too, faced scrutiny. Their new apartment? Funded by shady loans in my name, now flagged by banks thanks to the online buzz. I felt a mix of shock and pride. Alex hadn't broken laws. He'd used public forums to shine a light on the darkness. Comments poured in, support for me, outrage at Mark. Old friends reached out, offering help. But for Mark and Sarah, it was panic mode. Creditors circling, jobs on the line, social circles shrinking. I confronted Mark over the phone. You thought you could just leave us broke. Now the world sees who you really are. His voice cracked, begging for mercy. The tables had turned. With the online exposure gaining momentum, I decided to take action legally. I contacted a lawyer friend, sharing the evidence Alex had compiled. This could void some debts, she said, excited. Turns out, Mark had forged my signature on loans, fraudulent activity now under the spotlight. Alex and I spent the evening together, him explaining his steps in simple terms. I learned about coding from YouTube, Mom. I just wanted to protect you. Tears welled up. My boy had shouldered too much. But his plan was working. Reports came in. Mark's boss suspended him. Sarah quit in shame. Their fresh start was shattering. The suspense kept building. What would happen next? Would they fight back or crumble completely?
Mark showed up at our door that night, disheveled and desperate. Jennifer, please, call off whatever this is. Alex hid behind me, but I stood firm. This is the consequence of your choices, Mark. You betrayed us, left us in ruins. He admitted everything. The affair started as a thrill, but spiraled into financial mess. Sarah was pressuring him for more, leading to the debts. I didn't let him in, but listened as he pleaded. I'll pay back the money. Just make it stop. But it was too late. The viral wave couldn't be undone easily. As he left defeated, I felt a rush of empowerment. Revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about truth prevailing. The next morning, support flooded in. A GoFundMe page started by a kind stranger inspired by Alex's post raised funds to cover part of the debt. My workplace offered flexible hours and a small advance. Even Mark's family called, apologizing and promising help. We had no idea, his mother said, voice heavy with regret. Alex became a quiet hero in my eyes. We talked about boundaries, how he shouldn't have to fix adult problems. But his actions sparked change. The panic calls from Mark and Sarah lessened, replaced by legal notices. Their world was unraveling, thread by thread. Over the following weeks, the revenge Alex set in motion played out beautifully. The company's investigation revealed Mark's misuse of funds, leading to his termination. Sarah faced similar fallout, her reputation tarnished. Banks froze their joint accounts, demanding repayments. The apartment they dreamed of? Evicted, as the down payment was traced back to fraudulent means. I watched from afar, not gloating, but relieved. The debt that haunted me began to shrink with community help and legal wins. Alex's site was taken down after its purpose was served, but the damage to their egos and plans was done. They called again, in full panic, offering settlements. "We'll sign anything," Mark whimpered. Amid the chaos, emotions hit hard. I grieved the marriage I lost, the trust shattered. Nights were filled with what ifs. What if I'd seen the signs sooner? Anger towards Sarah boiled. How could she wreck a family? But mostly sadness for Alex, who grew up too fast. Yet there was hope. Counseling helped us process. Alex beamed when I praised his bravery. "I did it for us, Mom." His words mended some wounds. The betrayal stung, but revenge brought a strange peace, knowing justice was served without lowering to their level. My lawyer worked magic. With evidence from Alex, we proved the debts were Mark's alone. Courts ruled in my favor, transferring liabilities to him. He sold assets to pay up, leaving him and Sarah scraping by. No more luxury. Reality hit hard. Calls came sporadically, panicked pleas for leniency. "Jennifer, have mercy," Sarah cried once. I hung up, empowered. The climax approached, a divorce hearing where truth would seal their fate. The day in court was tense, cinematic in its drama. Mark sat defeated, Sarah absent. Rumors said she'd left him. The judge reviewed documents, nodding at the betrayal's depth. "Mr. Thompson," she said sternly, "your actions are reprehensible." He was ordered to pay alimony, child support, and clear the debt fully. As we left, Mark approached, eyes downcast. "I'm sorry, Jennifer, for everything." I nodded, no words needed. The revenge was complete. Not violent, but thorough. They were left speechless, plans destroyed. Post-court, life brightened. The debt vanished, replaced by stability. Alex thrived in school, his story inspiring a coding club. I dated cautiously, focusing on self-growth. Mark faded into obscurity, a cautionary tale. Sarah, last heard, starting over alone. Relief washed over me, like a storm passing, leaving clear skies. We moved to a cozier home, filled with laughter again. Betrayal changes you, strips away naivety. I learned to spot red flags, value self-worth. Mark's actions showed people's hidden sides, but also resilience in facing them. Alex taught me kids see more than we think. Their innocence can spark justice. In the end, truth was our weapon. Alex's clever exposure didn't break laws. It amplified facts. It showed revenge isn't about harm, but accountability. Mark and Sarah's panic stemmed from their own lies catching up. Today, Alex and I are stronger. He dreams of tech inventions, I of peaceful days. The ordeal bonded us eternally. No more shadows, only forward motion. What did this teach? Trust, but verify. Betrayal hurts, but rising above defines you. Protect your family fiercely, and sometimes justice comes from unexpected places, like a child's bold heart. If you're facing betrayal, remember, the pain fades, but your strength grows. Hold on. Revenge through truth can change everything. Thanks for listening to my story. What's yours? Share in the comments.
And always choose kindness over cruelty, but never let injustice stand. If you were moved by this story, please hit that like button. It helps others find this video. Share it with someone who needs a dose of inspiration. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell.